So I'm going to do a series of videos, and they're all going to be focused on the limitations of the thinking mind. And these are not really obvious to people. It's not obvious to us as human beings because thought, it really feels like we control the thought process. And for many of us, we identify with the thinking process. And so this is going to be a really strange video because it's going to show that most of the stuff that we consider thinking is actually like a computer program. It's just something that just happens to us rather than something that we're doing. So human beings have been thinking as we think for 40 to 70,000 years. And the difficult thing is getting insight into where these thoughts come from. Can thinking break down the process that went into constructing the thoughts in the first place? And as a species, it's taken us a really long time to work this out. So it was only in the 1960s, it was like 1967 to be precise, that cognitive psychology was born. And so NICER came up with what we could really, most people agree on, is the definition of cognitive psychology, whether it's cognitive therapy or the research version of cognitive psychology. Cognitive processes are the process by which, I'm paraphrasing, but it's the process by which sensory input is transformed, it's edited, it's elaborated, and then it's stored into memory. And so there's very little of that that's capturing the exact nature of reality. And so whether it's cognitive therapy or what we call cognitive science, all the stuff we think about isn't actual reality. It's a very edited version of reality. That's why we say don't believe everything you think, because we've finally recognized as a species that our thoughts don't capture reality exactly as it is. It really is what we might call the end of naive realism, which is this idea from philosophy that we see the world as it is. Okay, so what is a thought? Well, let's go to one of the most fundamental insights of Buddhism. Forget who I probably should put the quote on here. It was a really very valuable insight. I might put it in another video. But Buddhism was once summarized by everything changes. Having the insight that it is the nature of reality for change to be the dominant force. And that's how we get this illusion of the self as a stable, consistent thing, because it's the thinking process that turns a continuous flowing river into what we might call a still image. And that's what thoughts are. Thoughts are like still images, like photographs of a continuously flowing river, which is reality. But that also gives us a really big insight into why thoughts cannot think about the processes that give rise to them. The processes that give rise, I'm getting a little deep here, so hang on. But the processes that give rise to thinking themselves are part of the ever-changing reality. They're part of the flow, they're part of the river. But the ending resulting thought is a still image. And there's no way a still image can capture the complexity, the flowing, the ever-changing nature of reality itself. And that's why Alan Watts put it so well. He said, a person who thinks all the time thinks nothing but thoughts, and therefore lives in a world of illusion. That's why thinking, the thought process themselves, they may be useful at times, but they are limited in the way that they can never capture the ever-flowing nature of reality. But you can. Consciousness is quite, in fact, this ever-flowing, changing reality might be consciousness itself. That's why we really can't think about consciousness, because you can't take a still image of a flowing, moving entity like consciousness. So I'm probably going to do a whole series on, limitations of thinking, but this is one of the more profound limitations, that we can't think our way out of a thinking problem. We can't think about where thoughts come from, because the place the thoughts come from is maybe consciousness, or maybe you can call it reality, but whatever it is, it's that flowing process that cannot be adequately captured in a still image.